welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. We had a good championship game.
It's good radio voice.
You love that one.
Look at that.
Right?
Look at you mixing it up on us.
Had a good weekend with Game 7 Baseball. Some good baseball. Your boys, your group over there. I know you don't necessarily just have hands-on, but your Midland Bandit squad from O'Fallon took the championship, 14U AAA. Played a really solid game. Levi McCullough took home the top award for the tournament outstanding player. Good kid, too. I enjoyed talking to him. It was a lot of fun.
He is a good kid. He works hard, too. And congratulations to him and to the team.
He saved some runs. He did. He did a great job behind the plate blocking baseballs. I think he maybe had one really get by him, and I think that's because he bounced it, 55 feet. It's hard to block that. So
those are tough.
Yeah, it is. So big shout out to those guys. Also, I want to do some quick shout outs real quick. Just looking at a couple of these things. Liberty Baseball tweeted out Trevor York, their leadoff hitter. He just set the single season hit record yesterday for the Liberty Eagles. So congrats to Trevor York. I think that's big time stuff. St. Charles West took home the GAC North champs. They finished off their season on a winning note. We saw them Saturday out there against Sullivan. They played very well. Jackson Mears threw a complete game shutout there. Looked really good. Also, Liberty Baseball, MHSBCA, that's the Coaches Association. All-state team with a team over GPA of 3.48. They were selected for that program for All-State, so kudos. Grades have got to be there, right?
It's the first question you get asked by a coach. What are his grades?
There it is. And to finish off these shout-outs, on May 4th, Francis Howell sent out Coach Tony Perkins got his 600th win. I mean, dude, yeah. 600 wins.
Congratulations, Coach Perkins.
Coach
Big
Tony
time
Perkins.
for Coach Perkins there.
It would have been a lot better if he was here, and then we can really congratulate him and maybe give him a balloon or something, because he would be so mad if we did that.
You know what? We'll have to do that.
Am I right, Kevin? How mad would he be if we did that to him? He'd be so mad.
Yeah, he would. He would be deflecting for sure.
You know what? We should do that Friday. We go out there because we are going to have the Howell Vikings against the Edwardsville Tigers on Friday.
If you do it at a game, he's going to be
that
more
would
mad.
really get him mad. He would only be mildly mad if we did it in studio. If you did it on the field, he would.
Oh yeah,
he
might. He'll
might punch us.
He'll pop it. Yeah.
Oh, man. Big kudos, big shout out to Coach Tony Perkins. Congrats. That's a huge milestone. All right, guys. Kevin, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Looking forward to next week already.
Exactly. Districts, Matt, how you doing?
Good. This is when it gets fun.
Yeah. Missed you last week. Appreciate you, gracing us with your presence.
Thank you. You're lucky we're on air.
Shoot.
Wouldn't be so PG with my response.
We're going to get right into this, folks. We've got our prep baseball report, small school rankings. We're going to jump into this, and we're going to work through some of these districts, give you some predictions. We got some great stuff coming up. There's going to be a lot of really good baseball. And I think when you look across the state in the Class 6, oh my goodness, it's going to be a fun week of baseball with districts, I think. So hopefully the weather stays good and we're going to be in good shape. But let's jump right into this. Honestly, Class 4, when you break down from 1 to 10, I don't think there's much question in that, Kevin. Is there?
No, it's pretty straightforward. I think the couple questions for me. Obviously, you got Kennett and Southern Boone, who have been rolling all year long. As your 1-2, Pleasant Hill in the 3 spots been rolling. An interesting one for me to keep an eye on is is Blair Oaks. They've been gaining some steam. They're on the, they made our top 10 this week. And they have that dangerous player, Will Lippert. So that's going to be fun. I believe they're in that Southern Boone district. Will Lippert can beat any team in the state, 6A, 4A, whatever. It doesn't matter what A. So this one, they're gaining some steam. They're going to be fun to watch, and this 4A class is extremely strong.
It's a lot of talented teams. And when you look down through here, though, there's only really, as far as the St. Louis area, you've got John Burroughs. That's pretty much it. I mean, St. Charles West, when we look at the GAC, just won the North, but they've had a pretty good run here late. I don't know if you've seen them play. How do John Burroughs and St. Charles West figure into this?
Both are strong teams. What St. Charles West has is they have a true ace, and John Burroughs would say they have a true ace, and I agree. But Newell's in another class. He's a Division I arm. Moving on. So that's the problem you run into when you face the St. Charles West. If you catch Newell, you could be in big trouble. Burroughs has a little bit deeper lineup, I would say, more of a complete team, not necessarily a superstar on the mound that you have to watch out for, but they're going to be a tough out come district time because they're a pretty deep group and have multiple arms that are good and give you a chance to win in a pretty nice lineup.
I liked what I saw, too, from Jackson Mears against Sullivan on Saturday at the GAC Baseball Classic. Mm-hmm. He pitched a complete game. And then there's the kid Goring behind the plate who is just he can rake. That kid can hit.
Freshman, he can really hit. He was with me at the Junior Future Games last year and was one of the top bats down there. You said it right. He can rake.
So I think, we haven't seen much of them because they got a late start. They didn't really get a lot of games in early, but they've been playing very well.
Well, St. Charles West had a good run last year. Mm-hmm. I think they were a little deeper on the mound last year than they are this year. But like Kevin said, they've got Newell's a legit arm.
Mm-hmm.
He's very similar to some other legit arms in 4A where he could beat 6A teams. So,
right.
I think they'll be fun to watch how that district plays out.
Yes, and I think they got a good shot at repeating as district champions. I don't think they're in that Blair Oaks category.
No.
I would bluntly agree with you there on that. Will Lippert's on a whole nother level, and Blair Oaks is, there's some separation. You look at these rankings, there's not a ton of like Kansas City, St. Louis. It makes sense. These 4A schools, a lot of the top ones are going to be out in the middle of the state just because there's just more of them. We obviously have more 5A and 6A schools in the Kansas City and St. Louis area.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting to see that. John Burroughs, you've been talking about them. They're 18-4 record. So we'll see where we go to. And we're not going to go through a lot of these districts, folks, just because there's like 16 of them in Class 4. So it'd just take too long. So please excuse us on that. I appreciate that. And it just gets too time-consuming in some of those respects. But then let's talk a little bit here about Class 5. And there's 3 districts in particular, I think, that are really interesting to watch. And if we start looking at the large schools, some of these schools in Class 5 are in the on deck. Of course, Willard leads that movement right there. You got Zumwalt East in there. You got, I believe, Parkway Central. Is Parkway Central 5A? They are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They're in District 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Camdenton, of course, down in the southwest part of the state. I think is going to be very difficult team to beat as well. And I believe Camdenton is Class 5 as well, correct?
Class 5, District 5.
There you go. Look at that. So if we're looking at these things in this respect, let's take a look at that first one, Class 3. You got Westminster as the number 1 seed, which I did not expect that.
Yeah, District 3, Class 5.
Yeah, District 3, Class 5. I did not expect Westminster Christian Academy to come out on top of that one. You have Parkway Central there. You have Union in the 3 spot, and then Pacific is the 4. So I think that's shaping up to be a pretty good district, guys.
That's a really strong district, and there's multiple teams that could win that thing for sure. Start with Pacific. They have multiple arms. They're having a great year. Really well coached. Westminster's your traditional power, and they didn't start the season out very well, to be honest with you. Now they do play a challenging schedule, but they've been rolling here. They've stacked up some wins the past 3 weeks or so, month. So they look really dangerous. They're led by Noah Leingang on the mound, heading to Maryville University. So they have some good arm. They have some depth there as well. Isaac Boss, Max Mintel. So they have Jeremy Sheffield's been really good for them at the back end. They're using him. That's their shortstop who's going to Georgetown. They're using him as the closer. He's a 90-mile-per-hour arm that they'll get you with in the back end. Rockwood Summit was in the Final Four last year. Now, they graduated a lot of guys, but, they have the experience. They're in MICDS, the 7th seed, has an arm going to Xavier, Jack Niederinghaus. They have a talented group. And Parkway Central is one of my favorites. I like that ball club. Really good lineup. Joe Siervo's one of the top players in that district, heading to Jeffco, high energy player. And then Chaminade perhaps has the best arm in the whole district. Charlie Weber could beat anyone and has beat anyone already this year. So Chaminade's going to be they have a couple good 1-2 with Quinn Council and Charlie Weber. So this is going to be a fascinating district here.
I feel like Charlie Weber has been at Chaminade for 10 years.
He had an older brother too, Jack, who's at SLU too. So,
but I just feel like it's never ended with the Webers at Chaminade. Am I right? I mean, it's just every year you're like, well, they got Weber, and you're next. They got Weber.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nobody really is kind of, safe in the middle of that with Pacific and Chaminade. That's not a gimme. That's going to be a tough game, isn't it?
Well, I think the problem for them is they have got to get through game 1, and then they're probably going to see a legit arm game 2 from Westminster. That is, I think because they play back-to-back days.
Right. So
Westminster has, as Kevin was saying, they have a closer that they can bring in, and then he can come back the next day and throw again, where it's all pitch count, though, right?
Westminster has the clear advantage. Parkway North is having a down year. All those other opening games I see is highly competitive, to be honest with you. Like, I don't see if you're Pacific, you're Chaminade, you're Parkway Central, you're MICDS, Union, Rockwood Summit, how you go out and do anything but give your best shot at it. Westminster might be able to be there. They got a little bit of an advantage here. I could see them not throwing Leingang in game 1. But it'll be interesting to see. This is always the fun part of this year.
Yes, it is.
The Second Guessers Club gets out and starts picking people's decisions apart. But these coaches got a lot to think about, because you got to ask yourself: are you trying to win today, or are you trying to win the district? Now, you got to win today to win the district. But some teams can only win a game versus another team with the certain guy pitching, and it puts coaches in a tough spot, and that's why they earn those massive salaries they do.
I will be shocked if Westminster throws their number 1 game 1.
But isn't this what we talked about them last year and why Westminster was ousted?
Yeah, but they got ousted because they didn't throw.
Their number one.
They brought him in too late, but that was game 2 of districts, right?
Yeah, I think. Yes, it was.
It was game
Game 2. You're right.
Where here, you can throw your number 1 game 2 because I think they're 2 and 3 arms because if you have to bring your closer in and say, hey, you got to throw 2 instead of 3, and you're not going to throw the next day, and then you can bring them back 3 days later. It's like I know like an Isaac Boss. He's going to throw strikes. He's going to have decent velo.
Yeah.
He can throw a secondary pitch for a strike. I think a pitcher like that would be fine.
Yeah. Because you saw.
He had a really nice start this past weekend. Looked good. And, strike thrower, big guy. His best days are ahead of him. He's got a big upside. That's a name we'll talk about over the next couple of years. But right now, he's good to go. That's a guy you can pitch with confidence in districts and be successful with.
But I mean, the key is I don't know, we're going to move on to another district, but if you don't play defense behind your arm, I don't care who you have on the mound.
Right.
So
exactly, and put up some runs. Westminster, as Kevin said, is has the clear advantage, and should be the champion. So Westminster should come out of this district, guys.
Well, should, yes. But are they your pick? I will pick Westminster.
I think I'm going to go with Westminster too.
It's Kevin's. I'm curious on Kevin because he's high, and I like Parkway Central.
Yeah. I mean, I just think.
But for me, it's just the matchup of Game 1 for Parkway Central versus the matchup of Game 1 for Westminster.
The only thing that scares me is Game 1 for Parkway Central, but I will go out on a limb. I like that Parkway Central team. I will take Parkway Central over a very good Westminster team. I think the difference is going to be I'm going to just think they can if they get to the championship game, I think their bats will carry them because that's going to be an offensive day. So I'm going to pick Parkway Central in a mild upset over Westminster.
Ooh,
nice. There we go.
I love that. Going out there. So let's take a look here. Then let's move to District 4. You've got some – I think there's 2 teams here that we're really going to look at. Yeah, there's a couple teams that maybe could throw an upset in there. But East is the number 1 seed. St. Dominic is the number 2. Warrenton, number 3. And Hannibal, number 4. Hannibal's had a decent year up there. They got a decent record. They really challenged themselves. They played some pretty good schools. They came down, I think it was in the Midwest Classic. They got beat up pretty good, but they put themselves in there. You got to give them credit for that. Warrenton, I think it might be just a little bit too big for them. I think they should get past McClure in the first round, but I don't think they're in St. Dominic's class that way. And in the last 2 games, Fort Zumwalt East has lost to St. Dominic and Parkway Central. No, excuse me, Lutheran St. Charles and Parkway Central.
Well, St. Dominic's been playing well down the stretch.
And that's exactly.
And I think they've got it figured out with the arms that they have and how they're utilizing them. I mean, obviously we're expecting a Zumwalt East St. Dominic finals, and I would take St. Dominic just because of how they're playing down the stretch right now. Because I think the matchups that they're going to have are very similar to get to that point, assuming there's not a major upset.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is what's curious about this. Early on, East won early in the season 3-2. These 2 teams are playing today at Dominic.
If I'm the coach, I'm calling up a freshman arm, or I'm not showing anything. Some kid's going to make his first appearance on varsity that I know I'm not using next week. I can't be showing much.
And I would be running delayed steals every other pitch, hitting runs, just throw as much at the kitchen sink as you can to see what works and what sticks, and then say, okay, well, we've played them 2 times,
Right.
but now the game means absolutely nothing besides pride.
Right.
So why don't you see what they can defend, what they can't defend? Maybe just, hey, you're going to bunt. Push to first, push to third. Oh, they can't do this. Okay, now when you play them, you can say, okay, out of the 2 times we played, this worked, this didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have a random dude throwing.
Well, and to
or it's a bullpen game because they're
Yeah.
just getting ready.
And to your guys' point, against Lutheran St. Charles, Coach Hill already threw the freshman Hollingsworth, so he's given these kids. He's doing that. You're not seeing his arms.
Well, you don't want it's 2 things. One, they need to throw to stay on schedule.
Right.
But it's probably not terrible to give them some of a break. So if they're not going to throw in game, they need to throw. I'm sure they're throwing pens.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's what it boils down to. So it'll be interesting to see what happens today in that game, what the coaches do, as Kevin alluded to. But I'll tell you, down the stretch, I think Dominic has been playing better baseball. East has stumbled a little bit. They've had some good wins, and they've had some bad wins or bad losses. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll come down to the pitching of these 2 teams. And right now, honestly, I think Dominic has the advantage. Guys?
I'm going to side with you on that. I like the Zumwalt East Bats a lot, and they got some young talent. But I'm going to go ahead and go with St. Dominic, led by Coastal Carolina signee Grant Richards, and I like they've been rolling this year. So I'm going to go with another 2 seed.
I'm.
Yeah, he's smart. He's siding with us. And just for the record, I don't think I got 1 district correct last year.
Who? Me?
Me.
You? Oh, no. I can't remember.
I remember.
We're not keeping records, so we just wipe the slate.
I remember.
Okay.
That I was very, very incorrect.
And we're going to roll down to the last, the other district, number 6, that I think really has. It's going to be a pretty tough district, and that is you got Willard at number 1. Glendale number 2, Branson number 3, West Plains is the 4 seed. But I'll tell you, I'm serious. Looking at the wins for Willard, looking at how they're playing, look at what they're, and I haven't seen them visually, but you see the overall body of work and who they're playing. I don't know if there's another team in this state at the Class 5 level that can play with Willard. They are good.
In a single elimination tournament, it's always scary, but I do like Willard in the 5A. If I had to pick a champion, that would be my pick for the 5A state championship. That district is extremely challenging. That's one of the best 5A districts there are. Glendale's really good. Branson's very good. So that's going to be a challenging district. There's upsets every single year, but if I had to put money down on the 5A state championship, I would be putting it on Willard. That's a really deep team. They're young. Saw them earlier this year in the Columbia tournament. That's a strong group.
And they showed very well in that tournament, didn't they?
They were very competitive, yes.
Yeah. So
I can't go with anybody but them at this point.
Yeah.
It's the safe bet unless you're doing a fun bracket and you just want to pick somebody else.
Right. And as Kevin alluded to, single elimination, Glendale has the team and Branson, of course, there. But I think Glendale has a team that can beat Willard. Will they? That's the other part of it. That's
right.
That I think Willard is very tested in those situations. They put themselves in that place. I think Glendale has had some really good wins. They've played some really good teams, and so There you go. We'll leave it at that. I think that's the best we can do. So let's move in. We got Class 6 districts. Let's go right to the top here, though. Let's go back to our large school rankings real quick. And Matt alluded to this. I'm going to let you what you saw in these rankings and what you said to me before we started.
Oh, we were. The conversation was the difference between the beginning of the season and now on these rankings, and how there was a very east side of the state heavy, St. Louis heavy at the beginning, and then it's west side of the state heavy now. But there's a lot that's happened over a season, which is any season, with the ebbs and flows of Howell and Timberland and the difference, in like CBC, just some of the things that have happened to some of these teams. But the thing that I've probably...
I think Liberty and Liberty North were in the top three.
Yeah, they've always been there. But then it was pretty much Howell, West, CBC, Timberland. Am I missing anybody? I think those were the...
started off in the top 10, and they've had a rough season.
Yeah. So, but now you've had some other... Blue Springs South has always been in the mix, but I just... You're taking 1, 2, 3, 4 teams out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
I was going to say
and Howell's
the teams
on deck,
that are new that weren't in the preseason would be Nixa, Nixo's new since the preseason. Rockbridge is new.
Mm-hmm.
Eureka,
and I think Kickapoo. You're on a different one, Matt. You're on the last week's one.
Oh, I am?
So it's Liberty North number 1, Liberty number 2, Jackson number 3, Nixa coming in at 4, Zumwalt West. But you're right, and CBC they've had an interesting season. They lost their number 1 and 2 pitchers for the year. They started out great, got up to our number 1 team in the state, went out and competed well in a national tournament out in Vegas, and then lost 9 of 10 games. And then recently have kind of figured themselves out again. And I was talking to Coach Horn the other week, and I think as much of a blow to the team from losing the arms, that's also a big psychological blow. You lose your number 1 and number 2, and I think they've recovered from that. And they've gotten some nice wins here recently. They beat Rockbridge, they beat in Columbia, so they had they've gotten some good wins here recently, and that's a talented lineup. So they can still go a long ways.
Kevin, can you help us out, because I'm with Matt on this one?
I'll read.
No, because we're looking at this, and all we see is the previous May 2nd.
You got to scroll down, Brian. You got to scroll down.
Scroll down.
Go back to the home page.
Okay, because
Justin has it correct on the screen. You guys see that?
Because I pulled those off
Mr.
of your Twitter deal, and so that pulls up May 1, and there's nothing scrolling down. Where'd you see that, bud?
Yeah, you got Jackson.
It's 3. One of the top news stories.
CBC 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am not seeing.
We'll make this easy.
It's all right. We're going to move on. I believe you. Yeah, because you did have CBC in there at number 10, right?
Mm-hmm. Howell's in number 8 now.
So with these rankings, and everybody can see them. I want to start this process. Let's go to District 1, because I think you have to start. You can't. I don't think there's a district you can leave out.
District 1 is going to be this is a fascinating district to me. Seckman has the big win-loss record. They've racked up a ton of wins. They haven't played quite the same schedule some of the other big schools have played.
Mm-hmm.
but they're a really good team. I really like this Jackson ball club. They're the 2 seed. Um, they've challenged themselves. They've beaten CBC. Now they also lost to CBC, but they beat them with early in the year when CBC was rolling. They beat Kennett, who's our number 1 small school. They split with them. They went 1-1 with them. But they've gotten out
And that
and played
shows you
some
how
teams.
good. That shows you how good Kennett is too, right?
Kennett is the real deal. They could be in 6A and halfway expect to make the state championship in 6A. Like they're good.
You've also
And
talked
then this
about.
Limburg team.
You've all.
I was
I'm
going to
sorry. Go
just
ahead.
quickly say this: Limburg team is a dangerous team. They were in my preseason top 10, mainly on the strength of their pitching staff. They have Dane Bourne going to Tennessee, left-hander, who CBC beat in the district finals last year in a thrilling 1-run walk-off win. Then you got Ethan Smith, who's having a good year, going to Missouri Southern, and you have Drew Polite going to Dyersburg State. So that's their 1, 2, and 3 pitchers. This team has the pitching to get through a district. You're going to have to beat a good arm every single game. So this is going to be an interesting district for me.
You also have talked about Oakville as a.
Oakville has the best freshman pitcher in the state, Adam Kilborn. He's had some monster games for them. He's a freshman. We'll see. His first time going through district. I have no reason to believe he won't pitch well. He's also, the quarterback on the varsity football team. So this is a special athlete and has played in big games and will be fine. The depth probably isn't there behind him, but that's a team you don't want to play in a single game setup.
There you go, and then is Vianney there yet, or can they challenge at all?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Vianney is still a team you got to respect. And I'm going to be really upfront and honest about this. For Vianney's standards, which I consider them to be state championship, Final Four type team, they're down but they're still a very good high school baseball team. So for them to be the 6th seed, that's as good of a 6th seed as you're going to see in the state. So they can absolutely win a game. They could win 2. I just don't think that they could run through the district, and maybe they'll prove me wrong. But they have a really good young program. They have some freshmen and sophomores in that. They have 3 freshmen on varsity, and they have some really good freshmen that are playing freshmen and sophomores as well. In a couple of years, that's going to be a team that we're going to be talking about making a run at state again. But right now, they're probably a year or 2 away from that.
I'll get this started. I'm going to go with Jackson. It's not really going on a limb here. It's a 2 seed. I think the big game for them is game 2, assuming Limburg beats Vianney. And then I would take Jackson in a 4-day period on 3 games in 4 days over Seckman. I just think they'll be deeper and they can handle that because I think they're more battle tested through the season.
I haven't seen Jackson play. Kevin has. I've seen Seckman play. I saw Seckman play twice. I really like them offensively. I think they got some big bats in that lineup. I'm going to stick with Seckman. As I know Jackson, who's the host here? I didn't look for that.
Vianney.
So, both teams are traveling. That's my thought.
Seckman's not really traveling.
No, Seckman isn't. But I just like their lineup. I like Seckman offensively.
Seckman can really hit. That's a great point. And you get to the 3rd day, often it turns into an offensive game. I'm going to pick Jackson in this one. I truly believe they're the best team. There's 3, in my opinion, 3 teams that could win this district. If this was Vegas, Limburg would be an interesting value play because they have the pitchers to do it. But
got the
I'm going to
sports book on the
stay.
side.
I'm going to stay with Jackson, and I'm not saying we're betting on any of this. Obviously, we're not.
That's hilarious.
But my point on this is that people are going to look at their record, and it's around 500. And you got Seckman, who's got a gaudy record. You got Jackson, who's got a gaudy record in our top 5 rankings. Lindbergh should not be counted out on this. They've underperformed this season. There's no question about it. I think they would admit that. They have in my eyes, but the talent is there. They could bring things together and make a run at this thing. I firmly believe that. But for this purpose, I will take Jackson in this district.
Let's move to District 2. Another powerful one. Eureka gets the top spot, and I think that's only because of what happened with CBC. They're in the number 2 hole with the injuries they had to their pitchers. Parkway West is the 3 seed, and then Lafayette is the 4 seed. Guys, did CBC find their footing after those injuries? Have they righted that ship?
They have. They've played really good the last couple weeks, and they did go on just a absolute tailspin there for a little while. They lost 9 of 10 games, but they have won 5 in a row, and have beat Rockbridge and Kickapoo. Swept Vianney, so they've gotten some nice wins in there. So that lineup is one of the scariest lineups in the state. 1 through 9, I would put them up there with Liberty and Liberty North lineup wise. They don't have the pitching that those schools have at this point, but they still have arms. Like Cameron Poe's one of the most electric arms in the area. He's going to Duke. That's a lefty that's up to 92. That's a good arm. Peter Underwood is a really nice pitcher. Evan Margarita is going to Quincy, 6'8" right-hander. They are more than capable, and they have good positional player arms too. Guys that are more positional players that come in for them and pitch. They're more than capable. I look at this and another really fascinating district. I think there's 3 teams that could win the district, but there's some teams that could cause problems. Parkway South, they're a good team. They got Brady Kellenbrink's a really good sophomore pitcher for them. They have good hitters. They're a young team. But Parkway West could 100% lose that game. And I think Parkway West should be considered a serious contender for this district, but that's not a layup in game 1 for them. Right. CBC, versus Kirkwood, that should be a game they can get through. Lafayette and Marquette should be a good game. Marquette was, I feel terrible for them. They had one of the best, tag team combos offensively with Jack Halabowski and Mason Breidenbach, and they're both out for the year and 2 of our top hitters in the state. So a little unfortunate there. And Eureka's having a great year and been good all season. So it's going to be a fun district to follow.
I think it's interesting because you say with Marquette, you have they just never really recovered after those injuries. They're a 500 team, and I understand it's tough. That shows too, I think, the depth of CBC. Yeah, we the initial hit, boom, but they've recovered and they have the depth to put those kids in place. Whereas Marquette maybe doesn't have the depth to replace those 2 guys and continue a season that way.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
So that's where, I honestly, I'm going to stick with CBC in this district, guys.
Kevin, I'll let you go.
This one's going to be fascinating. Here's what this is going to come down to, in my opinion. Parkway West has to win this first game, and they have an arm that can beat anyone in the state. Luke Wright, big lefty, going to Heartland Community College, is having a phenomenal year. I am worried for Parkway West in game one because I think what they have to do, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but I think they have to throw Luke Wright in game two versus CBC to win the district. If he throws against CBC, it's going to be a really good game. And then Eureka, I like them. They have a clean path to the championship, and then they're going to have to either beat, most likely Parkway West or CBC. They have Asher's their number one, and Asher Sink has done very well. I'm also going to pick CBC, and I'm not exactly sure. I think that's a really challenging path for them to get through, to have to top Parkway West and then get through Eureka, who should have a pretty healthy situation on the mound. But I can't turn away from the overall talent on that roster. So I'm going to take CBC in this one. And they also were in the Final Four last year. Those kids have been through the postseason. They have played at an extremely high level. They beat Mater Dei out of California, who's one of the best teams in the country. I think they're going to find a way to get through somehow, some way.
Yeah.
I think Parkway West is going to win game one. And I think CBC can get through game one without throwing Cameron Poe. But like to hint on what Kevin was saying, I don't think Parkway West can get by without throwing top guys in game one, which then puts CBC against Parkway West. I think if you have Cameron Poe throwing, they win that game. And then as we've been alluding, when you get to day 4, when you're in the district championship, CBC's lineup, I think, can carry them against whoever they play, most likely Eureka, and say, hey, our lineup's better than yours. And losing 2 arms for them is for anybody is huge. But they have so much talent on the team.
Yeah.
And one I forgot, I didn't forget, and this kid's going to be one of the key kids to the whole district, is Jake McGee, who's committed to Mizzou, left-handed pitcher. He's a sophomore. He's going to have to factor into this thing on the mound for CBC somewhere during this thing, I would imagine. So if they can get through that first game with not using, or maybe lightly using, because with the pitch count, you could throw a guy an inning or 2 on Monday and then bring him back on Friday. But Jake McGee's going to have a big role in this. I don't know when, but I think he'll have a big say in this.
Well, the other thing that helps CBC with this district schedule is it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's not a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Right.
Like some of these other ones are set up.
Right.
So they have a day in between each game, which
to kind of reset. Yeah.
They reset the staff.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives them that day off.
And if you can, I think
they're going to be tough.
Yeah, I just think there's too much, as we said. There's too much depth there, talent-wise. District 3.
So did we all just pick CBC?
Yeah, we did.
So that means that's not going to happen.
Correct. Correct.
Sorry, guys.
It'll end up being Lafayette, somebody we didn't even talk about.
Right. District 3 is probably not one of the stronger ones. SLU is sitting at the top spot. And I will tell you, we talked about this a few weeks ago, where I really thought Hal Central had a shot at making through this, but Hal Central has stumbled. They've been on a skid. They've struggled, and I'm not so sure. It'll be interesting to see where these guys are at coming into this. And you have Desmet down in the three spot. They've been up and down. They've played pretty consistent. They're a little young. Got a great coach, guy that's been there, in Tim Canavan. So I don't think you can count Desmet out. But I think, honestly, I think SLU has a pretty clear path here to this, especially, to the championship game. I don't see Hazelwood Central or Pattonville or Hal North really making any trouble for SLU to that championship.
I think Pattonville could give them a game if they played them game 1. I don't know if Pattonville has the depth to beat SLU in the second game, especially because this is a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday district. So I would agree with you that I think SLU's got an easy path. The bottom half of this bracket is interesting to me because House Central has been that team that I've talked about is you don't want to play because they're gritty.
Yeah.
And they can, some of these kids have been around for a while, kind of like a Holt. I don't see them having a problem with Rittner. It's going to come down to game 2 against DeSmet. Assuming DeSmet beats Hazelwood West, which I would guess they would.
Right.
But with those two teams, do they have anything left in the tank to beat SLU in the finals? Because it's not like those two teams are that deep.
Mm-hmm.
So my heart wants to pick House Central or DeSmet, but Kevin the bookie says you don't bet with your heart, you bet with your brain. So I'm gonna go with SLU.
And Brian, who did you took SLU as well?
I'm going to tell you honestly, just because I picked them earlier, I'm going to stick with House Central. That's just the way I'm going to do it. Heck with it.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to lose.
SLU certainly has the most pitching depth, and they got Jack Dumont heading to St. Louis U, senior. They got his younger brother, Andrew Dumont, who's committed to Tennessee. You got Parker Guthrie, I'm going to miss it. Their pitching depth is extremely strong. So I like that. Pitching in the postseason is going to be king. I'm sorry, Garrett Shear is their other top arm. So that is an embarrassment of riches there. I like the DeSmet team a lot, though. They split in the year. So I will go out on a limb. I will take DeSmet in an upset, the 3 seed. So we got 3 different teams. I think this is a 3-horse race. I feel pretty good about SLU being in the championship game. I like House Central. I saw them early in the year, and they were kind of like a surprise team this year, to be honest. Especially once Lane Harris went down. Lane is back throwing some. I don't know how much of a factor he'll actually be at this point. So nothing would surprise me if it was SLU, House Central, or SMET. I think it's pretty even and wide open. I do like SLU's path to the championship game a little better than DeSmet and House Central, but for the purpose of the entertainment, I'll take DeSmet in this one.
and like I said, House Central's been playing 500 ball recently. They dropped, they got swept by West, but they beat Eureka, they beat Lafayette, they split with Liberty. So I think it's just kind of hopefully, I think they've got, as you said, they're pretty gritty. I like Coach Beckman. I think he's got that program moving that way. I enjoyed talking to him. I think he's got a good head. And so I'm going to stick with him. So we're moving on now to District 4. Okay. Just, I think, throw the dice up against the wall. See which one it lands on, what number it lands on, except if it's 8 and maybe 7. No offense to those guys. I think Troy, if Cade Noddy is pitching, gives them a chance. We saw him pitch at West, and he was really good. It gives them a chance. But I think beyond that, they've really struggled.
I'll let you take this one first.
Oh,
Kevin,
you don't want to jump in there, do you?
I have a lot.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
So when you're looking at this, you got, it's a really deep bracket. I really like Holt. Timberland was a preseason top 10, and at one point in the year was 11-1, and are more than capable. They've sputtered a little bit here the last couple of weeks. Francis Howell is one of the best teams in the state. Troy, I don't think they have the depth to win the district, but they're tough. They're a tough out.
Yep.
Zumwalt South is a really strong team. We've seen them multiple times. They do have a lot of sophomores. A lot of them are talented. Carter, You don't necessarily want to see an arm like Carter Cox in a district single elimination format. That wouldn't be fun. And then you got Liberty, who has one of the top junior arms in the state in Seth Bennis. So this one's a monster of a district. And even Zumwalt North has an arm. Tanner Paschke going to Iowa. So this is a deep, deep bracket, one of the deepest in the state. I think the interesting thing is going to be how Zumwalt West uses their pitching staff. They got 3 top end guys. I would say Whistler's a little more top end than their other. But and then we called the game. Kenton Deverman did the lefty going to Evansville. So they got 2 big time lefties, and then Dylan Bates going to S&T, who I really like a lot as well. So they got 3 clear starters there to throw at you. It'll be interesting to see the order they run them out. If you look at game 2, if Holt can survive Timberland in game 1, which I view that as a toss-up game, but Holt can really hit, that it'll be interesting.
And can I say this real quick to your point? You're talking about Daniel Whistler, and we brought this up last week. He threw against Howell Central and threw a complete game, 2 hits with 16 strikeouts against a very good Howell Central team. I mean, when Kevin said he's up here, he's up there.
So I'm starting to do player of the year for the state, and there's 4 or 5 names, and he's one of the names on that list. He's had a phenomenal year. He's a 2-way talent for them, an elite center fielder. He bats second and does a great job. We're on a crash course for Zumwalt West and Francis Howell here, and I'll be honest, either one of these teams could win state and certainly make a run to the Final Four. I do hold Liberty and Liberty North slightly ahead of both those teams, but either one of these 2 could win state, and I'm having trouble to pick. I'm going to side with Francis Howell here. I think we get to the 3rd game. I like Howell's depth in their lineup a little better than Zumwalt West. But Zumwalt West, I hate myself for doing it. They're the it team. They win. They were in the finals last year, and they got the pitching depth. But something tells me I'm going to go with Francis Howell in this one, and I don't like doing it. It's struggle.
I think the Zumwalt South Liberty game, as he was talking about, is going to have 2 good arms.
Yeah.
I think they're going to kind of be depleted for game 2. Howell and Troy, I see Howell winning that game. Troy's the host, but they'll be up for the game. I think it's going to be close early, and then Howell can. I think they're too deep. And then I can see Howell beating South or Liberty, because after you get out of the first arm, I just don't know what they have left.
Yeah.
So I see Howell in the championship there. West beating North. One of the 3 guys is going to have to throw that game. I can't imagine him not throwing one of them, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Whistler. Holt and Timberland. Here's the kicker for me with this bracket. If Holt can beat Timberland, I think Holt's going to give Zumwalt West all they can handle.
I agree.
And I think the kicker is, how is West going to have to say, I need Whistler to beat Holt, or can I throw Deverman to beat Holt and bring Whistler in relief if we just need to win a game? That's where I think the match, or Bates or whoever he uses. Yeah. So I'm expecting Holt to win, Holt to give Zumwalt West a game, because that's that gritty team all season that I've been harping on. They've been around. They've been together. They will be so jazzed for that baseball game if they can get past Timberland, that I think just emotion alone will give them. I'm not saying they're going to win. I just think they'll give them a game. So I have a rematch of Howell and Zumwalt West in the finals. We watched the Howell West game last year.
Oh man, it was unbelievable.
I am going to side with Kevin on this. I am picking Francis Howell to win the district. And it's very hard for me to pick them over Zumwalt West because I think if they played today, just one game, I think West would beat them because it's they have a kid that's going to probably be, if not, he's going to be the top 5 player of the year in the state. But it's not about the one game. It's about who did you match up to get there and what did you use prior to this matchup.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and the other thing with Howell's deep. I mean, Coach P will throw on anybody. He doesn't care. But he's used him all season.
Yeah.
Like he's had to just figure
put those
out
guys,
his staff
yes.
and all his players all season. So I am going to pick Francis Howell.
Well, guys, I think we're all pretty much, I think, as you said, Holt is the only spoiler alert in this.
Holt's the key factor in this whole district.
Yes, I agree. But I think we'll end up at West because it's strength on strength. I think Fort Zumwalt West has the pitching. But, guys, I was looking at this. This is just insane stuff, and I was telling Matt before this. When you look at the top 4 guys, 5 guys, 6 guys, 7 guys, 8 guys, 9 guys, they're all over 300. And the top 3, Jake McCutcheon, Brett Norfleet, Leo Humbert, who is a freshman. I mean, McCutcheon's hitting .505. I mean, I don't care. High school, I know it's high school baseball, but they're playing. Francis Howell is not playing chump change. They're playing the best teams in the state, and he's still hitting .505 with a .575 and an .853 slugging. That's 1,400 OPS, 33 RBIs, 5 home runs, 3 triples. Brett Norfleet, I've never seen anybody with a .901 slugging percentage.
Well, and both of them will bunt if they have to.
Yes.
So.
And, I mean, Norfleet he's hitting, and not only that, he's hitting .446, and he's over 1,400 on his OPS with 47 RBI and 8 home runs and 3 triples. That guy is a freak athlete. If you watch him play, he is a freak athlete. It's unbelievable to watch Norfleet play. And then you have the freshman hitting .413 with 25 RBIs, and he's over 1,000 OPS. So you have strength on strength when you're talking about West and Howell. And who's got and it's just Pickett at that point.
So what you're telling us is you're picking Howell with us. And
no, I'm going pitching and defense. I'm an old Tommy Lasorda Dodger guy, pitching and defense and hit a bomb. That's my gig, and I'm sticking with it.
So who's your team?
West. That's what I said. I'm picking pitching and defense.
Well,
and I've seen
picking somebody else in this district. There's 18.
I'm picking West because I do think the pitching and defense does do that.
Now that we all didn't pick the same one.
There we go.
Makes me feel better.
That's a tough pick because they could either one of those teams. I think we all agree can make a serious run at the state championship. And I think if they line up and play 10 times, it's probably going to be five one way, 5 the other way. That's the way I see it.
Agreed. And I think it's one of those things. I've always believed in pitching and defense, so that's where I went. It's not because I like one team better than the other. Francis Howell. Oh, goodness. How do you do that, man? Anyway, District 5. And I didn't want to pick Hal because Coach would be mad at me.
He's going to be really mad when you show up with a balloon.
Don't do it. Anyway. All right, let's go to District 5. Rockbridge, Hickman, Blue Springs South, Grain Valley, Blue Springs. My goodness, again. Who do you pick in that? Now, we don't have the luxury.
Right. I'll make this quick. Blue Springs South is good. Rockbridge is good. Hickman's good. Green Valley is good. Even Blue Springs is good. I am going to go with Rockbridge, and I could easily go with Blue Springs South on this one, even though there are 3.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go Rockbridge, and the kicker is they're hosting because there's teams coming from other places for this one. Mm-hmm. And obviously Rockbridge is also really good. But I'm going to go with Rockbridge.
Kevin?
Well, this is a really strong district again. Rockbridge is in our top 10. They had the best freshman in the state, Ty Thompson, committed to Tennessee, shortstop, leadoff hitter for him. Peyton Messer going to Central Missouri, their center fielder, 3-hole, and also top arm. Heck, Blue Springs has a big-time arm, sophomore going to Arkansas, and they're in the 5 seed. Green Valley was in the Final Four last year in 5A. They're really experienced. Hickman's super strong, led by Brennan Hemmer. But I'm going to go with the 3 seed here. I'm going to go with Blue Springs South. They got some big-time arms. Jordan Austin, their leadoff hitter, is going to Mizzou. Grant Hollister is one of the top sophomores in the state. Cole Chase going to Indiana State. It's their senior catcher, and also will get on the mound and be either starter or out of the bullpen. Blue Springs South has been there before as well. There's a lot of talent. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw Rockbridge, Hickman, or Blue Springs come out of this, but I'm going to go ahead and take Blue Springs South over Rockbridge in the championship.
And I am going with Blue Springs South because it's the only team I've seen play. I was going to do that. I should have said that before and it is. I saw them play in the Midwest Classic. They lost to West in the championship game. But who's their big arm there that you said, Kevin?
They have a couple, but Tommy Lepore, who's heading to Cincinnati.
He's filthy.
That's a deep team.
I saw him pitch against I think it was Howell, yes, and he was almost unhittable. He was
Coach
really
P
good.
said he was the best arm they've seen so far this season.
He was really good. So that's what I can see. So that's what I saw with Blue Springs. And offensively, they put the ball, as you talked about. So that was kind of where I went with it because I just saw that pitching, and that kid is dominant.
That'd be a fun matchup,
Blue
Springs South Rockbridge in the finals.
Yeah.
The Blue Springs Hickman game in the semis, because I personally have seen Battle and I have not seen Fort Osage, but I don't think either of them will give resistance to Hickman or Blue Springs South. I think that semifinal matchup is going to be one of the best games of the week next week. That's going to be an absolute battle. That'll be a fun one, and then I see Rockbridge getting to the championship, and we'll see. That's going to be a fun district to have an eye on, though.
We go down to District 6. I think this is a 3-team race between Nixa, Kickapoo, and Ozark. Got any thoughts on that?
I hate to pick another number one, but the problem is Kickapoo and Ozark have to play each other after Monday's game Tuesday, and Nixa, I think, is so good that they're still going to have dudes left for that last game. And Kevin's sighing because he knows that he's going to pick Nixa and agree with me. And the last thing we like to do on this show is agree with each other.
Well, I'm actually going a different way, and this was one of the biggest upsets last year coming out of districts. And this year, I think they get their revenge. I'm going to pick Kickapoo. They're battle tested. They went out of state, beat some quality Oklahoma teams. I like the Nixa team. Very good. Have a ridiculous record. We're our number one team in the state for a week at one point this year, and are still a top 5 team. But I think Kickapoo finds a way, who's also in our top 10, by the way. I think Kickapoo finds a way to get past Nixa in the finals.
Wasn't it Republic that beat Kickapoo last year?
Yes. Yes, and Kickapoo was the 1 seed last year.
Yeah, so you got Republic sitting there with Nixa. I mean, there you go. I don't know if you can count that out.
You can't count
Republic
any game
and Joplin are both strong teams, so that won't, that's not a layup for Nixa in the second round.
So I still think they're, is Republic the giant killer again? We'll see. I don't know much about any of these teams, to be honest. Kickapoo's always been a power. They've been good 2 years in a row. I'm going to stick with Kickapoo on this one. All All right. Let's move to district number 7. Here's one. We've heard you talk about Raymore Peculiar, Ray-Pac. You got Lee Summit West in the 2 spot, Rockhurst, and then Lee Summit in the 4. Honestly, and this is something I hope we grow to as a show and what we're doing. I want to know more about these teams, and hopefully we can do that so we can create some better opportunities
Well,
to
Raymore
talk
Peculiar
about
has
these
two
teams.
good left-handed arms.
Right.
I'm assuming they're both healthy, right?
I was talking about me as an individual. I know Kevin knows.
Kevin, they're both healthy, right? Bryson Gooding,
Yes,
ready to go
Ray-Pac
to
has
Michigan.
4 Division I arms on their team.
Yeah.
Carter, is it DeGandhi? Is that how you pronounce it? DeGanda?
Carter DeGanda, heading to
He's going to
Missouri
Mo
State.
State. So
Caden Wilson going to LSU.
Now,
Bryson Gooding going to Michigan.
so can we all agree that it's probably going to be Ray-Pac coming out of this district?
No.
Oh.
Caden Wilson, yes. They have 3 D1 left-handed pitchers.
Okay. So wait a minute. You
So
just
let's
said
see
he just
what
said no.
But let's see what he has to say. He knows something we don't.
I think that this is not one of the deeper districts in the state.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've said, "Oh wow," and I have legitimately meant it every time we've talked. I see this as a 2-horse race, and it's going to come down to Lee Summit West and Ray-Pac, in my opinion. And I'm going to take Lee Summit West. They have one of the best sophomores in the state, Drew Dickerson, heading to Mizzou. I could see it going either way, but I like the Lee Summit West team, so I'm gonna go with Lee Summit West in this one over Ray-Pac.
Wow.
I'm just going to pick Ray-Pac because he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, I'm going to stick there
Yeah.
because I don't know.
I'm
He
going to
knows.
stick them because I see 4 D1 guys, and I'm going to stick with them. And then because if Kevin picked Ray-Pac, I was just going to go random and pick Lee
Rockhurst.
Summit West.
Go
or,
Rockhurst.
Yeah, Belton.
Hey, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to be the dark horse in this one. I'm going with Rockhurst.
Yeah.
You talked about Rockhurst being a program. They're maybe they'll just jump up and take it.
Here you go.
Yep.
I'm going to do that just to be different. Okay, District 8. Here's the other one that we've all talked about. And again, it's one of those, oh, man, who do you pick? It starts with Liberty North in the 1 spot to Liberty in the 2. 3 is Staley, Park Hill South, Oak Park, Park Hill. Goodness mercy.
Well, you got Kevin's 1 and 2 in the state in the same district. So I'm going to let Kevin lead off.
I want to just prep this real quick on this district. It's not quite as strong overall, like 1 through 8, as it was last year. Last year we had Park Hill South, who had the top drafted player in the state, and Drew Townsend also going to Missouri State. So they're not quite the same group. Carter Jensen, the catcher, the LSU commit. So those guys have both moved on. I like them, but they're not quite as strong as they were last year. This is, in my opinion, a 3-horse race in 3 teams that could win the state championship. I think Staley might be a year away. Extremely talented, but young. But could win this district. I saw them in Columbia. They did really well. Have one of the best coaches in the state, in Coach Dave Wilson. But I do think this is going to be Liberty North versus Liberty in the finals. Liberty North has beaten Liberty twice this year. It's tough to beat a good team 3 times. I'm going to take Liberty, our defending state champion, to upset Liberty. And I don't even want to call it an upset.
No.
But Liberty's led by Carson Milbrandt, the Vanderbilt commit, and most likely the top he is the top pro prospect in the state. You got Addison Smith, probably the surest hand defensive shortstop in the state. they got just a ton of depth. The lineup is loaded, as is Liberty North. This is one you'd pay money to watch. This district, so I'm going to take Liberty over Liberty North.
I think that the kicker is, are they going to use Carson Milbrandt the same way they used him last year? And clearly it worked, so why would you not?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the difference maker. And that was a difference maker for them last season in the playoffs in general, is they used everybody else, and then they brought him in high-leverage situations, whether it was a third, fourth, whatever, saying, hey, give me 2 innings. Cool, we just scored 6 runs. Get him out. Next. I honestly, going into this, I was going to pick Liberty. But since he picked Liberty, I want to pick somebody else. But I don't know if I can pull myself to do it.
Well, let me.
So
North Kansas City is available for you to pick if you want.
To upset Liberty in game 1.
Here's what I think about this before you do this, because I'll give you a little more fuel to your fire. Because I can only go by what I saw last year, and you still have 2 of those players coming back from that state championship team in Addison Smith and Carson Milbrandt. What I saw Milbrandt do around that group of people, pitching wise, and what they still have, what they've been through. I know, as he said, they lost to Liberty North twice. Hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. It happens. They can do it. It's not that they can't. But when you're in that big-time situation, here's Liberty back with the same guys that have done it in the past. They know how to get it done. I think Liberty is a team that can, especially with that leadership, guys that have been there and done that, I think it gets them over the top in that district. I mean, and think about it. It wasn't like they were playing, West was favored to beat. I think there weren't too many people thought that Liberty was going to beat West last year. And they came out businesslike, got it done, moved on. And I think it's a similar situation. That's why I'm taking Liberty.
Jesus. All right. So Liberty North's beaten Liberty twice. Right?
Yes.
All right. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna stay with my gut. I'm just gonna go Liberty. I hate it.
I also think that this will most likely produce the state champion out of 6A. And I view it as a coin toss between Liberty North and Liberty getting out of it. But I think the winner of this will be your 6A state champion.
If Liberty can get past North Kansas City without using Milbrandt and then use him in relief lightly against Staley, then they've got him ready to rock against Liberty North, and that changes the game. But I would agree with Kevin. Going into this, whoever wins this game is probably going to the Final Four.
Well, we've gone through this districts. Next week, after we'll be in the districts, we'll have an opportunity. We'll be looking at the championship games next Wednesday, and then the following, we're heading toward the state playoffs. We'll get a chance to pick our Final Four. If I'm looking at a Final Four, just even before that, I still personally, I think, how those, it's just basically how the districts do. They usually do, Kevin, you know this maybe more than I do, or maybe you do as well. But is the bracket set up where the 1 through 4 districts are on one side and the 5 through 8 is on the other side?
I believe so. Although they might cross over. I'm trying to pull this up.
So state tournaments, when you get to the Final Four, it's just based on district championship. So the whole Class 6 is district champion 1 all the way down to 8.
Yeah,
so District 8
right.
plays 7. So you could have a Francis Howell, Zumwalt West against a Liberty North in the finals. But they don't reseed you when you get to the Final Four.
I gotcha. Okay, so you're not looking at...
So your 1 and 2, your District 1 versus District 2 will play to go to state. Your District 3 and District 4 will play to go to state. District 5 and District 6 will play to go to state, and District 7 in District 8 will play to go to
So
the state.
like whoever wins between Liberty and Liberty North, assuming they both make the finals,
It's going to play Ray-Pac.
They have
Ray-Pac or Lee Summit West.
Yeah, so those two teams
Rockhurst.
would have all of their guys for one game
Yes.
because there's such a gap between the Final Four. You have May 28th, then you have 5-6 days before you start the Final Four.
Yeah, because they took the sectional out last year, right, when they went to the eight district format for the Class 6.
Right.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
So
there you go. There it is, folks. Dang it. Did you throw up the comment button? You got to comment below. Just blurt it out there, son. It's okay, because my brain was focused in on picking these champions. Comment below. Tell us who are your district champions. If you got some out there, we'd love to hear from you. I think it's very interesting. It's great talk. Kevin, as always, man, great information. Matt, same. Guys, preliminary Final Four.
we can talk about that next week.
Okay. We won't get ahead of ourselves, right? We won't do it. I won't do it. So
give us an out in case there's an early upset early on.
Yeah.
So you got some, everybody's finishing up this week. Games that that you're going to be going to that you're looking forward to seeing. You've made a couple. Where are you going on Monday, Kevin? Right out the bat.
I don't know yet. I will, possibly one that jumps out at me is Liberty versus Zumwalt South. I'm not, I'll look for one of the possibly Holt and Timberland. I'm going to look for one of those middle seed games to take in, or maybe like one of the lower seeds that has a big arm, and see if there can be an upset sprung. That type of thing.
Very good. Yourself, what are you looking? I know it's tougher for you to get out there like that, but if there's a game that you'd really,
I was gonna harp on because you're gonna see a Carter Cox, Seth Bennis.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a fun matchup to watch. Game
Agreed.
one,
Agreed.
locally.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Again, comment below. Tell us your picks. That's the fun part of this, and hope you enjoyed the segment. Remember, all you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Hit them where they ain't.
and that's good advice. And we'll see you next time.